Left. Oh, hi everyone. It's our weekly broadcast where we discuss everything that has to do with search trends, new tools, AI optimization, however you want to call it. I ended up calling it GEO, AIO, AEO, and also SEO for AI or SEO for LLMs. There are many names now for that. I'm Anne Smarty. I have been an SEO for 20 years. I think I've been saying that for at least 2 years now, so maybe more than 20 years. I have seen it all. It's a very exciting time for us to be SEO for sure, with everything that's changing, to be on top of all of that change. With me and always is April. We have a boutique SEO company in New York called Smarty.marketing. Please check us out. And we have these weekly broadcasts just to discuss everything that's hot in our industry. Businesses need help. There is very little clear information about what is actually changing, what is going on, and we are doing our best job as we can, as best as we can, to have the answers that we have. Please subscribe, and smarty.com is where I announce weekly topics and what we're going to discuss every week, and give you some context with screenshots, links, references that you may find helpful to know even more about each topic. So nsmarty.com is where you can find our latest topic for the week that we are going to discuss here, as well as links to join us, which is always great. Now, today is something that we have been discussing for quite a while, is how keyword optimization and keyword analytics is changing now that people do not necessarily use keywords. AI mode, ChatGPT, Gemini, everyone is being trained to search, to research topics in prompts. And prompts pose a huge question to SEO industry for many reasons. First of all is, how do we know which prompts people are using when they are trying to solve problems that our businesses are solutions to? How do we optimize for prompts if we don't necessarily know what people are prompting? There are different solutions for that, which I mentioned in a minute. Not too many. I was able to find two. Maybe there is the third one that I haven't tried yet, but very few solutions are solving that problem. Another thing is, how do we optimize for prompts? Because they are so diverse, you cannot really optimize for all of them, and you don't have to, because people get answers even if they do not use the specific prompt. They can still have answers based on what AI knows about the topic. So they get solutions to their problems, not necessarily articles or anything like that. So how do we optimize for prompts is a little bit huger topic than that, and smarty.com is where I give some solutions that you may find useful. Today, at this particular conversation, we do have a special guest who has the answer for our first problem, that is prompt analytics. So we'll be able to discuss how do you do that and what you do with that information with that guest. And that's why I'm not, this time at least, I'm not talking as much as always, because we want to have that external expertise. It's not just me today talking. We have a great guest who knows the answers, and he's the founder of AISO. It's AISO. That is the AI visibility, AI analytics platform that is doing some great things, and we would like to introduce their founder. April, please, let's get Ben here. Hi Ben, please introduce yourself. I'm always terrified of saying names. I'm a terrible moderator at conferences because I always mispronounce all the names. So please introduce yourself, introduce your platform, and we'll discuss how it can be useful for everything that we just discussed.
Thank you. So I'm Ben Tenenbaum. That's how you can pronounce it. And I'm the co-founder and CEO of ISO. So we'll maybe talk a little bit about what it's doing in a minute. I was born in Paris. I'm a data engineer really by background. Um, and with this new startup, we're sort of trying to help SEOs um, have visibility on the prompts that people are asking ChatGPT. That's kind of the first, building block that we're trying to solve. And then after that, we're hoping also to build automation on top of it. But at the moment, we really focus on that specific problem that you introduced just before.
Yeah, there are many other problems that your platform is solving, but I think that that was I was trying to find many angles for this conversation, and I think that prompt analytics is something that you are unique. Your solution is pretty unique about. So I would love to talk about how you're doing that. How do you actually know? So let's say I'm an e-commerce owner. I would like to know which prompts people can be using. And I would like my visibility, my brand visibility for those prompts. So the first step, let's discuss how your platform ISO is solving it. And I know we have a few screenshots to share from there. How do you actually optimize for those prompts as well?
Yeah, so we took a very sort of pragmatic approach to this actually. We didn't have like a big idea at the beginning. We really tested things with brands and with SEO, and we slowly discovered, how to be less and less wrong. I think that's sort of how we approach it. So essentially at the beginning, to give a bit of the backstory, I was a founder in a previous company before, which was doing data in the world of real estate. And I sort of learned about ChatGPT from the point of view of receiving leads from ChatGPT myself from my company. So we started to see more and more people coming from ChatGPT, and they said, "Oh, I was comparing options," and so this is how I started to think about it, and I realized, okay, that's going to be a new search channel, because people use it to do a lot of research. And and then it piqued my curiosity, and I started to ask like SEOs around me or marketers or brands. I started to ask them, hey, what, do you know what people are asking ChatGPT when when ChatGPT is sending them to you? Do you have any idea of the sort of research that happened before they went to your website? And you, at this stage, and I think a lot of people are still doing something like this. I thought maybe it should be something like Google keywords plus a few more words before and after, like, you just take the most popular Google search and then you make it a sentence kind of. So that's what I suggested to Brand. I said, hey, maybe we can use this as like the an assumption, and then we see if we can create content for those sentences, for instance. But there was a strong pushback to this. Like most of the brands said, look, like that's too strong an assumption. Essentially, you have no idea if people are asking the same thing in ChatGPT than they're asking Google, and then people would ask ChatGPT. People will use ChatGPT themselves, and they would notice that the way they ask questions is different. So they would say, look, like I don't think my customers are going to ask exactly the same thing. It doesn't really work. Um, so that was an issue, and then we started to think, okay, how can we actually find out what people are really asking ChatGPT. And so we tried like many different things, and there was a couple of things that worked, and they were very similar to what we did in our previous startup, where we basically did data exchange within an industry. It's called Give to Get, really like this business model, and it was sort of similar. We basically created a bunch of apps, really, B2C, directly for the end user, and we told people that, this app, for instance, would give you access to the expensive models from ChatGPT. We get credits to get access to them. I can tell you in a second. But basically, would say, look, you can get access to more or less what you have in ChatGPT Plus. We give it to you for free. Some companies they charge you for the service. Like for instance, they take your question and then they distribute the question to the best models depending on the question, and they do this kind of little service for you. Sometimes they charge you for it. We said, look, we're not going to charge you, but you have to explicitly opt in that you let us analyze the conversation for marketing purposes. That was the deal. And then we also tried to look at different sort of public source for the information. So those things are typically more for people who train models. But we thought, okay, we can actually also use it for marketing purposes. If there was a lot of noise in there, we had to get rid of a lot of conversations. But then, there was still like a little bit that we could keep, and that was kind of planting the seed. And then overall, with those kind of apps that we distributed, um, we collected more and more over time. So that's how that's what we tried, and then the issue we had, and then we sort of really obsessed on how can we kind of create like a little system to get that those real
So,
prompts being that scale.
so basically, those are real prompts people are using, um, but just without us knowing who exactly typed them in. So it's like anonymized. I don't know how to pronounce that well, but anyways,
Yeah,
but
the
those are
the, the
real
term
prompts. Mhm,
the typical term is anonymized and aggregated. So that's
mhm,
typically what you need to do. It's actually a legal term, and to be compliant with GDPR and like the law in California, there's a bunch of things you need to do to the data. And yes, you cannot see who it is. Um, we have a bit of information. So for instance, we have the IP address, and so we know the location of the person, which
mhm.
typically is sort of important because people don't really have the same thing in different countries. Um, and then we don't at this stage, massage or process the data in any way. We just keep the actual prompts. Um, and we don't really, extract information or topics or anything. Maybe in the future, but at the moment we want to have something really transparent. We do, and I mean, there's kind of two caveat to that. There's one thing that we basically make sure there's nothing that you can use to identify the person in the information. So in the conversation, so people know that this conversation has been, stored and will be used. It's not like in the fine print. It's like we put like a big thing you need to sign, and
Mhm.
it's like we will use it. It's not like we may use it. It's we will for sure use it. So they do know, but they still sometimes put things that are a little bit uh, either things that are a bit personal or things that are a little bit awkward, slash, borderline inappropriate. Um, so I don't even
So
want to go into that.
basically, yes. So basically, those are real conversation with follow up questions, everything around like if you search, and I'm sure you can share, or can you share that screenshot where you search, but your own like keyword, and there are all the conversations, real people's conversations with ChatGPT on that topic, so you can exactly see how those prompts appear, but also what are follow-up prompts as well to that, like what people would like to know next, which I think is great to just be able to follow through your basically your target customers conversation about what it is you are selling, for example.
Exactly. Yeah. So we would exclude a couple of information when they are, when people give their address or their email address or things like this. So this we get rid of it. But otherwise, we really keep the entire thing.
Hmm.
Um, and most of the conversation are actually one shots. I was a little bit surprised by that. Like most of the conversations are people asking like one question, they get the answer, and then they move on. Um, But then you have some questions, and maybe we'll have the chance to look at them. Where it's really fascinating because you can really see the first question, such as I think the one that we might have a screenshot for is like I'm looking for like a video editing software. That's like the first question asked. And then you can actually see the follow-up and you can see the person going further and further down in the funnel. So they start to ask about,
Hmm.
comparison to alternatives and a little bit of information on price. I think they ask like for a free alternative or something like this. Then they ask like if there's something with AI in there, like you really go like more and more
Yeah,
specific.
let's share the screenshot and just show what it looks like so that it's easier to follow. Do you
Yeah.
have this?
So I don't have the screenshot.
Oh, April has the
No,
screenshot.
I don't have the screenshot.
Oh, you
Ah,
don't?
okay.
Can
No, sorry.
you, Ben, are you able to share it?
Let me see.
April knows
If
how
you
to
if
how.
you just email it, or send it to me somehow really quick, I can bring it up.
Yeah, let me try.
How can I? Here. Hmm. There's like
I
a
think you have it in in our LinkedIn direct message, like the last one I sent. Um, if you have
I
access to
do
your
have it.
direct message.
Okay. Yes, I
I think I
have.
sent you three screenshots, and the last, like the one today and yesterday, or just yesterday, I mean.
I'm seeing one you sent initially. I'm not very good at sharing screenshots here as
Oh, you
well.
can just send.
Yeah.
You just send them to me on like G chat, and I can bring them up.
Okay. You're offline there, by the way.
What?
But yeah, now you're online.
Okay.
Okay. While April is sharing that, let me see what else I've got. Okay. So let's see. Okay, I see more. And I will. Did it work? There is in the meantime, there was the question
Right.
from the audience regarding tracking prompts. Any data on prompt suggestions? I would say please clarify that question, or maybe we have already answered it. There are different approaches, and I've tested a lot of tools on how different tools approach that, because basically that's a very new thing for SEO, not to know what people are asking. We are very
Mm.
used and very well trained to have that data. We've had it for many years. So that was one of my first things when I started exploring all types of topics that have to do anything with AI visibility. That was my biggest thing. Like, what are different approaches to those analytic systems to find? And in most cases, I've tested about 3 or 4 solutions. That was AI generated prompts. So you give your keyword, and they use a generative AI to generate possible prompts people are going to maybe using to explore relevant topics, which I wasn't a fan of, just because it's not people, it's AI things that people are going to use. In many cases, those were not commercial enough. They were not relevant enough to what my business or my client's business is doing, and it wasn't human driven, so it wasn't people doing that. Uh, and that's why I think that we decided to have this conversation with Van, just because he has a very different approach, which is much more human first insight into what it is being researched in AI based on your business model. So April, was there any luck with getting the images?
Yep.
Don't be
No.
afraid to share. So I hope that is answering the question from Daniel. But Daniel, please ask for more clarification if I didn't answer.
Do you want me to bring the first one that you set up first?
Let's see which one is the first. Oh, Ben, I think that was the last one that you sent,
I
right?
think this one is good. I think this one we can focus on this one. It's really interesting actually. Um, Essentially, I'm going to read maybe a little bit because this is there's a lot of text in there. But essentially, you can see the person asking at the very beginning, um, tell me which actual software I can use for easy tracking and replacing objects in video. Um, So, this is someone having a sort of problem, right? Which may or may not lead to a commercial intent, but we are not too far from a commercial intent, I would say, because we're looking for specific software, not just like a general description. And there's a lot of specifics in there, right? Easy tracking, replacing objects in video. So this is video editing as a category of the category of software, but there's already quite a few details in there. And what's super interesting, so you have the answer from ChatGPT that I'm not going to spend too much time uh,
Mm-hmm.
on today because the focus is on the prompt. But of course, the answer is quite interesting. But then you can see the follow-up, and this is really fascinating because now you have like a follow-up, which is which one is easiest, right, to operate for this task. Um, you note, by the way, you know that the meaning might not be super obvious always. There's actually very few typos in this one. Often they are more like grammatical mistakes. But still, the meaning is sort of, which one is easiest to operate for this task. It's not super, de detailed, but that's a reality of the way people are prompting those things. And then following down, which one of these is free to use. So that's like quite interesting. You can see, it's looking for some kind of free trial or something like that. And what about AI-based tracking and replacing tools? So like this is what you could call like a killer feature, no? Like they specifically want like some sort of AI assistance. And then the end is really amazing because this is sort of the end of the funnel, where the person is asking, give me a link to one of the options. So basically, the person has sort of refined, compared all the different options, and now it's like an out link. Um, so it's a click right in the using the concept of a funnel, which is now going to the brand. It's basically a branded search going to the brand to the favorite tool. So this is amazing because this would never really happen in this way with Google searches. The individual would maybe do like 12 different Google search, and here you basically have like the entire journey in one conversation. So that's a really interesting one.
Yeah, so basically you can see exactly the flow. And also interesting, yes, well, we're not talking about the answers at this point, but for optimization strategy, you do not just optimize for this particular prompt, but you kind of optimize for this whole journey. So your content on the page should reflect all these questions, especially if you are the solution to all of them. You're easy to use, you're AI driven, and you have free options as well. So make sure that all of this is very clear on your website and the landing page, and that is kind of helpful to you to understand the demand behind that. And April, I think we can share another one. I think that one,
Mhm.
yes, it's much smaller, so easier to read, although it's not.
Yeah, yeah.
What does
Mm-hmm.
the type B2C mean? I mean, I know that means business to consumer, but how does it find that?
Yeah, very good question. So this one is actually a lot easier, a lot shorter. The so in this screen, we basically show you the conversation, and then we do a little bit of analysis, but like very simple. And one of them is trying to identify whether it's B2C or B2B. So in this context, it means is it a conversation where the buyer is buying for themselves as an individual, or are they buying for their company, as a kind of a business buyer? So that's sort of relevant because if for instance, here the conversation is about perfume, and we'll go into it. There's quite a few interesting things in there. But if you are a seller of a perfume, you might be selling to individuals, which is most of the perfume companies, but maybe you have like a B2B, service. Maybe you sell like perfume for events for companies. So you might be interested in the conversation that are, B2B or B2C, depending on your business model, basically. That's why we're trying to analyze we try to basically tell you what's the business model there. Um, and there's a few other things that we try to detect, like which are the products that are mentioned, the brand that are mentioned. It's a little bit of metadata basically around the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And
And you
and
can
so
filter, right? You can filter all the prompts. Like when you're searching for prompts, you can select whether you want informational, which are great as well, because that's where you need to be ultimately the resource as well. And you can see just commercial intent, or just B2B, or just B2C. All of that is you can filter when searching.
yeah, exactly. There's like this like I mean you guys know that a lot better than me. There's different strategies, right? Different like
Mm-hmm.
information might be sort of harder to be featured for, but they may cover more, more searches. So you can think about all of these things. And yes, you have like all these filters also by target market and whether it's a branded search or not, and a couple of things like that. Um, and this one I think is quite interesting because you have like so does pheromone really? works. So here, by the way, we keep the typo, so there's a typo in there, but like, okay, we just keep it. And it's interesting because he's asking about pheromones, so like very informational, like very wide topic. It could be someone who's interested in chemistry who's asking for this. But then there's like a follow-up, which is uh, pheromone perfume, right? So I think, as the sort of fantasy maybe that you can put a perfume and then people would be immediately like attracted to you or something. And and so this is sort of like maybe borderline entertainment, but still it shows you, it's not that far from question that someone would think when they are looking for when they are in a commercial process to buy a perfume, and it does of course give you, you may know already about this, right? But it does give you sort of unique insights into the way people think about how they want to buy.
So,
Um,
oh, I can also see this coming from Instagram ads or something, because people do advertise things like use the perfume and everyone will like you. So I guess that research can be driven from something like viral or something like that, which is cool to know as well, because you do need to know about that in your audience. And let's do one last screenshot, because we are wrapping up in a few minutes. April, do you have
Yeah, I
one more?
switched.
Okay, I
This
see.
is the new
I didn't even notice. I just keep talking.
one. I'm just that fast.
Let's have a quick look at this one and to be able to wrap up. Please ask questions if there are any.
Yeah, so this one is still it's this one is this time like sort of related to perfume, but more in the fashion industry. So it's like, what's the best material of clothing to keep the scent of a perfume? And I thought this one was interesting to look at because this might not be like the first thing that you want to describe if you are selling like, a piece of clothing, or if you're in the fashion industry, or the other side, if you are in the perfume industry, you might not describe this as like, the most important feature of your,
Mhm.
of your piece of clothing. But if you do see in ChatGPT that people are sort of wondering a lot about this kind of question, then that might, be an easy, quick win where you say, look, we actually tested a couple of different, materials, and this one is like much better at keeping
Yeah,
perfume. You might
that
hear that intent like really.
exactly, and that sounds like a great viral asset idea, where you can do some kind of research, a survey, and you become the source of this data, and drive both viral and AI visibility through that as well. So it gives you lots of ideas for marketing when you're just looking what actual people are asking. And it's not going to be the search, the keyword too. Like April, you can get rid of the image, because people do not search for that enough for us to have that keyword data. There may be no search volume for that, but knowing exactly what people want, what people are prompting in terms of whatever is relevant to your business is quite cool. I think that's a great solution. You're definitely onto something here. I know you have other features too. Let's spend a minute talking about AI, because I'm sure there will be people playing with it after this video, after the replay. So which other features they need to be looking at, they would like to know too. And I know you had some update as well.
Yeah, and I think also maybe just on the point that you made, I think it's a very amazing point, and actually we didn't expect it. We kind of discovered by surprise. But what you said is that you can look at the ChatGPT conversations to know how to optimize for AI search. That's like the obvious, narrow way of using it. But of course, you can have ideas for other type of marketing. As you mentioned, you may want to use that for paid ads, or, ideas of, content more generally. And I think that's a powerful thing. It's kind of one of our clients has said it's the sort of closest way to look into our customers' minds at the moment, because we can really see, what they ask to GPT, and people open up to ChatGPT a lot. So that's something really broader, use case, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a bunch of features in the app, so we don't have a lot of time to go through them, but there's one that people have found quite interesting, which is more on the answer side. So um, once you know with the search tool what are the conversations, um, the second question is, okay, how can you be visible in the answer? And so we build a different, suite of tools. And one of them is telling you exactly where to put your content, in particular to be picked up in the training data of ChatGPT. So that one, we call it third-party sources analysis, and this one is it's quite popular.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that's a great tool to even if you don't know yet how to use it, just playing with it. And I know you have a free trial. Just give it a try, different keywords. I even use it for researching branded keywords as well. For bigger brands, there will be some data there as well. Not for small, unfortunately. I guess we don't have yet that much when people search, not enough for one brand, but even like things like that, just give it a try. I'm sure there will be even more use cases for actual marketing, not just optimizing for prompts. Thank you so much for being with us today. Please subscribe banksmarty.com to be able to discover new tools like this, or new tactics, or just food for thought for the future. We are still figuring this future out together. So if you have a cool tool, if you know, or if you own, or if you found it and you would like to share with us, please let me know as well. I'm Smart on LinkedIn. Try to be on top of my LinkedIn mail. But if I fail, Smarter.marketing has all my contact information. Thank you so much, Ben. Again, check out the tool. I will make sure to post all the link to it everywhere after this on where we streamed as the response to the stream, so that's easier to find. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.
Hi, thanks everyone.